Welcome back. All right, so we did all of the setup for Stellarium, and we are left with this then. So what we are looking at now is going to be this red line. This red line is essentially the entire basis of astronomic astrology, and astrology in general. So the red line we are looking at is the ecliptic path of the sun. So what does that mean? It means that this is the path that the sun will follow. So if we click on the sun, just a stellarium tip, if you click here, it will center it and then it will also follow it if you change the date. So like whatever you click on. All right, so we are going to manipulate time. Let's go down here. Today is the 26th of December in 2024. So the sun is visibly in Sagittarius, all right? And if we follow this path, let's just go through the next year. So let's go until 12/26/2025 and watch the sun. So the sun will actually, let's go day by day. The sun will always stay on this red line. So we see other planets like Mercury come close, Saturn, Venus, passing all of them. Uranus, Mercury is quick. So what you watched was Mercury retrograde going back to direct. Mercury moves really, really fast in comparison to others. Jupiter Sun conjunct. Just keep it moving all the way around. You understand. So this is literally the path that the sun moves on. Awesome. All right, so that's the first thing to realize and understand. The second thing to realize and understand is that other planets will for the most part, follow this path. We will see Venus, Mars, Mercury go on their retrograde path a little bit. So, for example, one time I like visually observed Venus moving all the way into Scutum. So, the planets do have a little bit of a difference versus the sun, whereas the sun will always stay on this path, whereas the other planets will generally be around that path, but not exactly on that path. And then we have the extreme of Pluto realistically. I don't know if you hear the sirens outside, but yeah, so then we have Pluto, whose path is very, very different from the rest of the planets. So that is something to consider as well. So Pluto can end up being wherever it wants to be. Like, let's look up, I think it's in a reasonable spot right now. Yeah, so it's kind of close to the sun's ecliptic path right now. But there are other times where Pluto is like, let's see. Yeah, you see how far off the path it is. So like if somebody was born in like 1993 or before that even, like Pluto is just kind of on its own path. And there we see it cross the sun's ecliptic path back in 1924, right? But the point is that generally speaking, Pluto will have a different path, but most of the planets will be in alignment with the sun's ecliptic path. All right, hopefully that part makes sense to you guys so far. Other big debate about astrology in general is okay, how many signs are there? I include the 13th sign, Ophiuchus, not everybody does. Technically, it's not the 13th sign. It would, I guess, the Pisces would be the 13th sign because, let's see, we have how many? Seven, eight. It would be the ninth sign, technically. And then Sagittarius would be the 10th. But that throws off a lot of the tropical system and like the 12 system. So that one, that's challenging for people's heads to wrap around right now. But the reason that I include Ophiuchus, let's watch the sun and see where it goes. So right now it is not right now, but in the end of November here, we see the sun on its path, right? On the red line, on the sun's ecliptic path, and it is in Scorpio. All right, that's fine. So once we get over here, it's moving out of Scorpio, and we visually watch the sun go. Ophiuchus quite literally stretches over this sun's ecliptic path, right? The sun's path. So why would we not include Ophiuchus when the sun quite literally goes through Ophiuchus? There is a debate where to start and where to end Ophiuchus. I do think that is worth debating, but to not include Ophiuchus is insane because, I mean, it's right here. It crosses the path. It's on the path. So You get it. If I don't think you would have made it even this far in this course had you also not thought that Ophiuchus was an important contribution to the zodiac. All right, so those are the main things to understand is that the sun travels on this red line called the sun's ecliptic path, and that is where we base everything from. So this is from our view on Earth. So if we are standing on Earth looking out at the stars, we will see planets and the sun and the moon, which are luminaries technically, we will see the planets move through the stars from our vantage point on Earth, from our viewpoint. And that is where we get this from. All right. Thoughts, questions, concerns, do let me know because I really actually do want to know if you guys do have thoughts or questions that I can go into deeper to help you gain better understanding. Oh, other things to know for stellarium. So most of the planets you'll be able to visually see, for example, like Jupiter, the moon, whereas Uranus is so small that you can't see it. I mean, you can technically, but if it weren't marked, you wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, that's an object to pay attention to. So something that you can do for the outer planets. So for example, like Neptune, you can type in Neptune up here. You can click on Neptune and it will take you to Neptune, which can be really, really useful, especially when you are looking up your birth information. And that is a really easy thing to do. I guess I could include that in this one as well. Is just typing in your birth information here, the date, the time, and then also where it was. But we'll talk about that when we talk about your rising sign and how to determine that, because that is definitely important. But we have two more videos before we get there because there's a lot to understand. All right, hopefully I haven't lost you yet. If this is too much information for your brain to handle all at once, that is completely understandable. So take it in manageable chunks, do what makes the most sense for you. If you want to like skip ahead to the more like astronomical, astrological understanding of everything and interpretations, like if that's more interesting to you, definitely jump ahead, come back to the intro ones. You won't miss out on too much information, but it definitely will be what you want to know or like come back to learn it eventually. All right, cool, cool, cool. See you in the next video.